2021. First order of business is going to be roll call.
Chairman Scheffler,
Here.
Vice Chairman Van Oosting,
Here.
Commissioner Dimmitt,
Here.
Commissioner Orr, Commissioner Van Zant,
Here.
Commissioner Retberg,
Here.
Commissioner Yarish.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, if we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States
of
of
the
America
United States
and to
of
the
America,
republic for which it stands,
depends
one nation,
with the-
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, one of the first things we're going to do here is, I guess we had a couple of minutes that wasn't approved. Has everybody had a chance to read the May 27th, 2021 minutes, and is there any corrections?
I'm trying to figure out what that echoes from.
was on that.
Yeah, let's see if that's better.
Okay. Here, let me see if I can help you a little bit. Let's get back to the regular minutes of the meeting, approval of minutes for May 27th, 2021. Do we have any motions for or against?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the minutes for May 27th, signify by saying aye.
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 All approve? The motion carries. The next one is the regular minutes for June 24th, 2021. Does anybody have any changes? Do we have any motions on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 24th. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? It passes. Okay, the next item is consideration of public comments. Do we have any public comments? Now that can be.
No, we do not.
Okay,
I think
That
I
can
fixed
be-
our echo, though.
I'm sorry.
I think I fixed the echo. The echo's fixed.
Okay.
Not have any comments.
Okay, nothing written, nothing called in, and
No, sir.
nobody here.
No.
Okay, we're gonna move right along. We're down to new business. Review and recommendation of water service approval, ENG 21-0055. Do we have any input from staff?
All right, good evening. This is a request for water service. It is for 5 different parcels. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see. So the parcels highlighted here in yellow, they are requesting water service. Parcels are located on Highway 66, about 1.5 miles north of the airport. There's this was originally an unsubdivided parcel. The applicant did a parcel plat and subdivided the property with a road called Mason Drive right here that intersects Highway 66. There's an existing water main along Highway 66, right in this area right here. It's an 8-inch water main. There are 3 parcels that are located off of the highway. So the 047, 048, and 050 are located off of the highway. 2 of the parcels have direct frontage onto the highway. So like I said before, this was a previously unsubdivided parcel. So the utility regulations would require the applicant to come in and request water service. And he's requesting water service for all 5 parcels highlighted in yellow here. In addition to that, the utility regulations would require that a water line extension be made in Mason Drive across the frontage of the properties to be served. As part of his application, the applicant is requesting a.
Hello? You muted the council chambers by accident.
Sorry, what was that? Well, it's Commissioner Retberg. Anyway, the applicant is requesting a variance or an exception to the rules to not extend a water main in Mason Drive. Instead, he is proposing that 3 meters be installed along the frontage of Highway 66, and then to run a private service line from the meter back to the properties in the rear. So as staff reviewed this, we did receive a couple comments from other departments. First of all, the fire department or the fire district came back and indicated that for these rear properties, a fire hydrant would be necessary somewhere on Mason Drive to get all of the future buildings within 250 feet of a fire hydrant. Closest fire hydrant right now is this one right over here on Highway 66, adjacent to parcel 023 right here. We also received a comment from the Public Works Department. They expressed concern about the length of the private water service line. This is a dead end in our water distribution system. And so in these dead end situations, we don't really get really good flow in the water lines. There might be high pressure initially, but as soon as the water starts flowing in the pipe, the pressure drops drastically. That's just kind of a function of the hydraulics of the water mains. And so they had expressed concern that if a meter was installed there on Highway 66, they were concerned about having sufficient pressure and flow to the individual buildings that would be built. And then finally, the last concern that came up is, one of the reasons why the regulation is there to be extended across the total frontage of the property is to allow for future development further past the property. Staff is unaware of any proposed or imminent development west of these lots, but generally speaking, it's a best practice to make sure that if something were to be developed later on, that the water be available at the property line. So in looking at the totality of all the different comments that have been received, staff's recommendation is to go ahead and grant water service to all 5 of these parcels with the condition that the water main in Mason Drive be extended as required in the utility regulations. So that's my summary. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. The applicant is here as well. If there's questions of him, he's here that can answer those questions.
I have a question on the main going down Mason. Does it stop at the front property line, or will it be required to continue all the way to the end? To the
So
west
it would be required to go all the way down to the end of the road according to our utility regulations. It's about 700 and, I'd say 750 feet to the end. Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to explain. We don't know if anyone's going to want to extend. There's a vacant property to the west. And so when we look at these, we generally say, hey, you need to extend it across the total frontage so it would be available for someone to extend in the future. But like I said before, I'm unaware of anybody currently planning any development further west of these lots. The properties are zoned agricultural residential, so. Didn't look. I think it's probably the same, agricultural residential.
The road, is it just a dirt road is what he's proposing?
Yeah, it's unimproved at this point in time. Right. The road's unimproved, Mason Drive?
Yeah, I think I made a mistake donating. Should have just made it easy.
Well, whether it's an easement or a dedicated right-of-way, I think the discussion would be kind of the same. The utility regulation doesn't distinguish between a right-of-way and an easement. It just says across the total frontage of the property to be served. So we would likely request an easement if it wasn't right-of-way, and would probably still require or ask for the extension.
If I might ask one question. 3 parcels, anything more than 3 parcels, unless this zoning or something outside the city precludes it, why wouldn't this be a subdivision?
So it went through a minor land division process with Mojave County.
So they don't have a problem with it?
No, they haven't expressed any issues with the subdivision portion. And it's outside the city jurisdiction for land division.
Okay, so all we're looking for is to supply water to
Correct.
These parcels. Anything that goes beyond that as far as subdivision requirements, as far as anything, the only thing that we're specifically looking for is to supply water to them.
Correct.
And to discuss whether we're going to require that line to go across the front. Now, staff is recommending that it, are you recommending that it does or it doesn't?
So based off of the comments that we've received, staff is recommending that the water line be extended.
Okay.
So as it currently stands, the water line, if it were to be extended, would only serve three properties and a fire hydrant. Correct. So if it's not extended, then they would install the meters out at the highway, and then they would have to run a private service line from the meter all the way to the home.
How far is it from that would be meter location where would be fire hydrant, that fire?
So, the fire hydrant would have to be somewhere probably in this area right here. It's probably 300 to 400 feet, somewhere in there. And then, like, I just took a wild stab and said, okay, maybe there's a house right here. And I tried to draw a line from here all the way back down to the highway. It was about 550 feet.
Well, to me, it seems reasonable, 700 feet, you're gonna have 510 feet water. If that was not the case, I'd say it'd be a waste of time to go all that 700 feet, just so maybe in the future somebody. But I don't know. I welcome,
Make sure you turn your microphone on.
I welcome comments in the other way, but that's 3 water meters and 700 feet, it's a rural area. That's not uncommon in rural areas, so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Toby, the question I asked before is right along those same lines. No subdivisions being required here. I don't see that there's hardly any requirements. This is just kind of meets and bounds and go do what you want to. I don't see anything that's covering this.
Well, like I said, it went through a county process through their minor land division. A parcel plat was created, and it went through the board of supervisors to dedicate the right of way.
Yeah, this stuff must have come up before, and tell you the truth, it would be kind of nice to hear from one of these people to find out what pre-requirements and what you guys have done to satisfy some of these questions. I don't think this could go with just get out there and start doing it.
Well, again, I mean, I'm sure they can speak, but what we're here to discuss is the water line extension.
Okay,
Can we talk?
sure.
Thank you. Okay. We wouldn't be having this, but on that water line, there's a 1/4 mile water line that goes all the way down that I put in. Friday put it in for me. It was gonna be a 6-inch. The city wanted an 8, and they said they'd pay the difference between 6 and 8 inch in the pipe. I paid the rest. Put 2 fire hydrants. They're the only 2 fire hydrants all the way to Valley Vista. 700 feet is not far, because when they have fires down that 66, the trucks come up there on the fire hydrants I put in, and the city owns, they get their water. So I've been a pretty good guy. And as far as putting a line in, 6-inch line with a fire hydrant on the end, and then I hook up 400 feet from it, we got quite a few feet of dead water, never goes anywheres. And there will be no development down there, because Larry and I are just buying another 1/4 mile all the way up to the road down to the sewer plant. And we're gonna plan on selling it to somebody with horses. There's not, and further on down, all it is swamp, because up this way, on the other side of my house, there's a big wash. And when I was splitting that up, I offered it to the county for free, 2 acres with that wash. They thanked me, said they didn't want it. And this last big rain, hell, water come through there, and it goes down there, and High Desert Realty has got about 60 acres they zone for warehousing. And it hits quite a bit of theirs and then goes on down toward the sewer plant. I wouldn't give 20 cents for that land, and it's never going to be developed. So all I'm asking is them to stub 3 stubs on Mason Drive, and we'll put the lines in. And get somebody living there.
If you don't mind me asking, sir, and I'm gonna come back to this one more time. That many parcels, and that many parcels, and with the possibility of more parcels, how are you getting past the subdivision requirements? What did the county tell you?
On this, I went through the proper deals. 10 years ago, I did this. And then on my house, I wanted to add an acre.
Uh-huh.
And they said, Lou, you can do it in 10 years. So I added an acre to my house, and then we split that up.
That's what it is. In other words, it has a time deal to it. You didn't do it all at one time.
No, no, no.
Okay.
10
But-
years or maybe 15 years it was.
Okay, but
I
whatever-
didn't know that.
Whatever it was, the county accepted it.
What's that?
Whatever it was, the county accepted it
Oh,
as
yeah.
far as the number of
It went
lots.
through all, and, who was the surveyor? Carlton.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he did it all. Yeah. No, I went by the book.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't get 3 stubs up there, I'm certainly not gonna put a 6-inch line and another fire hydrant. I've done enough.
Okay. Are you all right?
And just a little further, Delbert Breckler went from there, probably 800 feet. They gave him a meter off of that 6-inch line.
Mm-hmm.
And the county put in a 2-inch line all the way down to the sewer plant. There is no fire hydrants. The only fire hydrants are what I paid for. Give me a little break. I'm not trying to cheat.
Okay.
I'm trying to, because I got to put in some more line up this way. And maybe I can sell it to Mr. Orr, because I got room for 10 more houses.
Okay.
And all those neighbors around there, we got the best neighbors in the world. I can hook onto their meter and run right across their property. I don't want to do that. I want to do it right. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna need you to be at the microphone though, so that we can get you on the recording. Okay.
Yeah, my property is the one that has a triangle in it, and right in the corner of it, that's where the fire hydrant is. The yellow behind that, I own all that. No subdivisions going in. We just purchased the land where that driveway ends. No subdivisions going in there. Nothing's going in there and ruin my view. I bought out there strictly because I could see 10 miles that way, I could see petrol that way. Nobody's going to build. I have a statue orchard, 15 trees,
Mm-hmm.
sits in the corner of that. I would like to get water to them. That's all I have.
Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any comments?
Yeah, I have some comments. I would venture to guess 50, 60 years ago, there was probably some folks who didn't think that Kingman would get as big as it is now. Okay, sorry about that. 50, 60 years ago, I imagine there's probably a lot of land out here that no one thought would ever be built on, and now it's being built on. In my view, the city has these rules in place so that 20 years from now, when somebody does decide to build on that, there's already infrastructure in place to support that. So I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where the city's coming from. I'm not sure if there's somewhere we can meet in the middle. to help both parties, but that's my comment is, we don't know what the future holds. 20 years from now, there may be something going in out there that could utilize that infrastructure.
Do we have any other comments?
Would the staff consider maybe running the line halfway down that road?
I think staff will do whatever is recommended. You know, you'll make a recommendation to the city council, and then the city council will hear that recommendation and make a final determination. But if you want to recommend something different, we can take that to the city council and have them review it.
I've got one other question as far as, it doesn't sound like there's much water here. So if somebody got out there and actually started doing something, it really looks to me like the city's gonna have to put in water and wells and everything for future development there. I'll be quite frank, I've never seen a subdivision or anything put together quite like this is, where there's no really just go ahead things. But the only point that I'm making is looking at the amount of water that's available. If future development was 3 lots, okay, that's one thing. But future development in that area is probably gonna be much larger than that. If it is much larger than that, the city's gonna have to put in a water system out there if they accept the water system, or it'd be private or something else.
So if there were future development that would require, you know, that was significantly bigger, you know, like a big subdivision adjacent, the development community or the developer would be responsible to make sure that there was adequate infrastructure to serve the property. So if there were going to be any additional mains or any additional wells or anything like that, that would be absorbed by the developer, and then the city would take maintenance of those facilities at a later date.
Okay, but all that'll have to be put in later depending on the size of something. In other words, if somebody went out there and developed the other part of it, it's not gonna be just go out there and, give me water. In other words, there's gonna have to be a subdivision filed on that. And I keep coming back to this. I don't think I've ever seen this many parcels developed in one area where it wasn't a subdivision, but the county give them permission for this. And I'm still gonna come back to one point. All we're doing is looking at the water. The county's already approved it anyway. The only thing that we're really asking right here, we're gonna extend the water line and ask for a fire hydrant in that area, and I think that belongs to you. And you're telling me you don't want it.
We don't need just a little bit of water, and it's gonna be, that's not gonna be developed.
So if I,
Come on out there and look, I'll show you where the damn water went down there, it goes where the big triangle is, and hell, you can't even drive through there, it's so wet now.
So if I might just make one point, and I'll just point out that the fire district commented on this project. And so if a house were to be built, they likely would be asking for a fire hydrant somewhere up that road. So they would likely deny a building permit until the fire hydrant was installed.
Now, that's your land. Is that correct? What we're talking about here is your land.
So Mason Drive is public right-of-way. It was dedicated to Mojave County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So why not deal with the fire hydrant if somebody decides to build 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
So yeah, we're here to address the issue of the utility regulation, whether or not we're going to recommend that they
Right.
follow the regulation. And so we went and got comments and information to provide. And so it's in in your hands to make a decision or to make a recommendation, and then, you know, it'll move along in the process.
What is a subdivision? I made 2 times splits.
So I'll just, I think we're veering off of the agenda item, and we probably can't go into subdivision requirements and stuff, because that's not what this agenda item is for. That's to comply with public meeting requirements. If it's, we're not here to discuss a subdivision, we're here to discuss the,
All he wants a little bit of water. For Larry and I, the other guy will never need water because he owns the other piece right up front. So all he has to do is stretch his line out. And Larry figured out, he's got the house right in front, he can just, run it out there.
Okay, I think we've had some discussion here. I think, tell you the truth, that the subdivision, or not subdivision, but the extension rights are very clear. We're just coming down to the point to where we're going to suggest that they don't extend it all the way, or they do extend it all the way with a fire hydrant. And that's basically what this thing is about. Do we have any other comments before I call for a motion?
Clarify one thing, so this application is for water service, their application for grants?
yeah, so it's kind of both, right? So they're requesting water service, and as part of that, they're requesting an exception to not extend the to not extend the water main.
They can't hear you. I'm getting texts from everybody that they can't hear you.
Okay, so you made the comment that if the extension was not built, and then somebody applied for a building permit, that they would have to put in, the building permit requirement would be that they would have to put in a fire hydrant, which would almost mean they would have to put in the water line, so, for a fire hydrant to get a building permit. So, isn't that what you said, more or less?
That's kind of what I'm anticipating to happen based off the comment from the fire department.
So is the intent to use these lots to build dwellings on or to water trees? What's that? Is the intent to use these lots to build dwellings on or to water trees?
So can you go stand at the microphone so it can be, sorry, so it can be recorded?
So if somebody just, if you sold it or somebody, or you decided to build on these lots, it sounds like the fire department's going to.
The trees are being watered by the people that put in 1,500 acres over there and 4,000 acres over there. All I want is a little water for a house. I may have some trees. I'm not gonna build a house, I'm gonna sell the lot. If I can't sell the lot, I'll just keep it.
So the
My
lot,
water bill in my house is pretty big. My water bill is $29. That's how much water I use. Now,
So your intent is to sell the lot for somebody to build a house on?
yeah, or build one for the grandkids, and do
Okay.
everything else.
Okay. So they're gonna flag it when it comes to,
What's that?
they're gonna flag you when you go to build that? Because they're not gonna let you build without that fire extinguisher there, or fire extension.
Fire hydrant?
Yeah, the fire hydrant. That's what the comments the city just made for you, so
When
you'd
did they
understand.
make that law?
So what I'm saying is, The fire, when the application was submitted, the application went to the fire department. They made a comment saying a fire hydrant is required for those homes in the rear.
What the hell are you gonna do all the way to Valley Vista? You got a little 6-inch line, there's a whole bunch of people down there. And, I don't know if it's you or the county, what the hell you do? There's some pretty good land down going towards the sewer there. That'd be a good place for a mobile home park or something there. But, 2-inch line? How come, that ain't done right? You know, 6 of one and a half dozen other. I need 3 little stubs. We'll put 2 meters in. Probably never use the third. Then I don't have your guys running all over to read the meters. Do what you have. That's all. I'm asking for a variance.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing. And, there's no subdivision there. That was 2 times split, probably 15 years apart. Went through the whole deal, you know?
Well, we can't really make amends for what was done 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago, and there may not be hydrants out there, whereas if this stuff was done now, we would probably have to have the fire hydrants. You know, rules have tightened up over the years, so it's an unfortunate evil, but as things get more complex, we have more complex rules to follow. And so having said that, I'll make a motion. We need to move this off dead center. I'll make a motion that we deny the variance for the water line extension.
So the motion needs to also include the water service
Okay,
approval, so.
Well, okay, then I make a motion, and if this, I hope I'm getting this right, that we will approve the water service extension on the condition that the water line extension is installed per the City of Kingman requirements.
So, just to clarify, the motion would be to approve water service for these 5 lots with the condition that a water line be extended per the utility regulations.
Yes.
All right.
Am I right? You recommend putting the stubs in if I do what?
Well, I'm recommending, or my motion is to do what the city staff is recommending, and that is grant you the water service, but on the condition that you install the water line extension per the city requirements. Now, if I said that right, does that all make sense to?
And how much time do I have?
I don't think there's a time constraint, is there, on this?
No.
And again, I know you don't like this, but it's just things, over the years, you know, like 50 years ago, you could go out and do about anything you wanted, but, okay,
So-
I'll shut up.
So I'll just say, you know, once a motion's been made, there has to be a second or the motion dies, and then further discussion can
I was
happen.
just fixing to butt in and
How
do
about,
that same
how
thing.
about the lots that are already right there?
Sir, we're gonna have to wait just a second and act
I'm
on
sorry.
his motion.
I see, there's.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
So now there can be more discussion.
we don't have to vote yet?
So you can have a motion and a second, and then you can discuss it further, and then you vote.
Okay. Do we have anything more?
So
comment?
to answer Lou's question, the 2 lots that are facing the freeway that already have frontage, so for the 2 lots that are facing the highway, they have frontage, and they have a water line across their entire frontage. Meters would be given to those 2 properties.
That's good.
So we're really just talking about the 3 properties in the back. Okay. So but the commissioners can ask questions if needed.
So those two properties, that frontage 66, you own those two properties. I'm understanding here, he could get meters off that frontage line going from 66, but that line that, the property that's adjacent to Mason Drive, will he be required to extend still to the end of that property?
Correct. So if someone wanted a meter for the three back lots, we come back to the utility regulation issue. The city doesn't allow like a piggyback. So like if he were to install a meter on the lot adjacent to the highway, he wouldn't be able to extend that meter back behind to serve another building.
I'm talking about the two frontage lots that face 66. So
Correct.
The one that's closest to Mason. If
Correct.
he gets a meter off 66 on that lot, would he still be required to extend up Mason to the end of his property on Mason?
So technically, per the regulations, he would have to have it across all frontages of the property. So that corner lot, for the lack of a better term, would still probably be required to extend
Where's the lot adjacent to that, to the north?
the 45 would be free and clear.
Qualify for just a meter off that.
Correct.
So really, it's down to just one lot there that could get a meter off the front line on 66 without having to extend any line down Mason. Because your frontage to Mason on that second lot, and the way the utility code reads is that you'd have to extend that line up adjacent to. Yeah, I just don't see a way around the existing ordinance on this.
So ultimately, I mean, he's asking for the variance. You guys get to make the recommendation of whatever you would like to recommend. So yeah, there's been a motion and a second. You're going to have to vote on that motion and then go from there.
Okay, now, I don't want to cut any of the commissioners off. If you got anything else to say, now's the time to say it, or I'm going to call for a vote. Everybody all right? All right, let's have a vote of aye for the motion. In other words, if we're denying this.
So the motion was to approve the lots to receive city water with the condition of extending the water main across well, extend the water main in accordance with the utility regulations. That's the motion.
Does everybody understand that? Everybody all right there? Okay. It's time to have a vote on that. All in favor of Mr. Orr's motion, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? It passes. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, now we have announcements by commissioner members. Does anybody want to bring anything up for the next meeting? Got any questions, anything like that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have everybody signify by saying aye for adjournment?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? We are now in adjournment.